How you doing? It's Bill Stage. It's time to go behind the business with Alexandria Rose from Shademaster Nursery. How are you, Alexandria?
I am great, even though it's kind of dreary outside.
Yes. But as they say, April showers bring May flowers, right?
Let's hope so.
So, you guys actually kind of started up in Donahue. Rose Tree Nursery was what it was called. Can you kind of give us a little backstory on how Shademaster Nursery got started?
Well, my husband and his family, they started the wholesale tree nursery, which basically we grew trees on about, 26 acres or so out in Donahue, and we would grow them until about a certain size, typically trunk diameter, which can be about a 2-inch caliper or higher,
Mhm.
to sell to landscapers, other nurseries, anybody basically from like Iowa City and beyond. They would order their trees from us when we would dig in the spring and the fall.
Mhm.
Well, since we can only dig in the spring and the fall, that means there's a lot of leeway in between the winter time and the summer months where there's really nothing to do other than maintenance.
Right.
So they decided to open up Shade Masters just a quarter mile up the road from Farm and Fleet in 2010,
Mm.
sitting on about 16 acres here. We grew on this property before we built the building, but we built the building in 2010, and we widened our horizons to perennials, shrubs, evergreens, and of course we still have a good chunk of land in the back of us that we still grow trees on.
Gotcha. So who is your normal customer?
Uh, Good 90% of most of our customer base is actually landscapers and builders.
Mm.
I Since they continue to buy through us, and of course they have to make a profit off of the product as well, I offer discounts to my landscapers, so they get the product a little cheaper than
Mm.
the regular retail homeowner.
Yeah.
um but yeah, a couple big landscapers, they buy solely from me, which is really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. What about that? How do you market towards that business? How do you get a hold of landscapers to start buying from you?
A lot of calls. When I'm driving around, if I see a landscaper that I've never seen or heard of before, I'll quickly, make a mental note to write down their number.
Mhm.
And then I'll give them a call later and go, hey, so you do landscaping. Where do you get your plants and why don't you get them from me? Um, and then basically, and I don't try to pressure them too much because I understand what it's like to be hounded by a salesperson, which I don't
Mhm.
like to be. So I just get their email, I send them my price list. Whenever I get it updated, I just send it out and they see what I have. And if I have something they need, or if they can't find it, I can bring it in for them. So
Mhm.
it's just more of a convenience. I make their job easier. I try
Mhm.
to.
Yeah, and I would imagine it's kind of you know, it's a relationship business. People throughout the years, I'm sure, have come to know we're just going right over to Alexandria.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of them, I mean, a good chunk of them, they still come and pick out their own plant material, which is fine. But then it gets to the point where a lot of them, they just email me or text me or call me with a list of what they need and when they're going to grab it. And
Mhm.
I'll have it ready here for them. So all they have to do is just pull up, I load them up, and then they're on their way.
Yeah, that's great. Is there any sort of thought about on some of your inventory, keeping things native? How much does that play into your business?
It plays a little bit into the business. I mean, I carry a wide range of things. Some things that depends on the state. Like in some states, there's things like burning bushes, which are really popular. Those are considered invasive and not allowed to be planted in a lot of states. But
Hmm.
thankfully, not Iowa yet. But no, if people ask for natives, I typically try to keep them in. The cone flowers, the sweet spires, viburnum, all those things that are native to this area. It gets a little tricky with some of the trees because native trees are really hard to grow
Hmm.
and make them look aesthetically pleasing. because they tend to grow a little bit slower and they tend to grow on their own terms.
Hmm.
So I don't grow anything native. If I have to find something, I typically outsource that to all my suppliers. And I, unlike some people, and I don't specifically know anybody in particular, but I don't buy from anybody south of me.
Mm.
I prefer places that know what it's like to go through a harsh winter, since we have
Right.
that wonderful bipolar Midwest weather where it could be snowing one day and 70 the next.
Right. Now, is your title salesperson? What do you do over there at Shademaster Nursery?
I am practically everything. I'm the salesperson, I'm the manager, I do the paperwork, I do labor around here if it needs to. We're really small business. It's me and my husband and then a couple key workers that we have.
Mhm.
Um, I do the orders. I mean, if I can do it and am able to do it, I will,
Yeah,
just to get it done.
gotcha. What's your favorite part about your job?
Oh, showing people all the options that they have
Mm,
for a certain spot that they're looking for. A
right.
lot of people end up leaving and telling me that I gave them more options that they were prepared for, and they have to go home and think about it. Because they'll come in and they explain to me what they're looking for, how much sun they need, and I basically show them all their options,
Yeah.
the pros and cons to everything. I like to make sure that everybody's fully aware of what they're buying and what little speed bumps they may run into down the road because of that plant.
Keeping your customer well informed means you have to have a vast knowledge base of the plants. What sort of studies do you do to keep up? How did you get all this knowledge?
Um, Doing orders actually is a big thing, because there's constantly new material out there all the time. So whenever I see something, I'm always clicking on it and reading about it.
Hmm.
People coming in and asking questions. If I don't know it, I'll look it up right there for them and try to find out an answer for them.
Hmm.
My husband, listening to him talk to people about trees, um, because he doesn't know how to share all that knowledge. But when people start asking questions, that's when it starts coming out. That's when I
Right.
kind of pick up on it.
Yeah.
Just a lot of reading, a lot of trial and error.
Right. And with a last name like Rose, that's kind of embedded in his DNA, I would think.
I know, right? I kind of lucked out finding that one for a great last name.
Is there anything that that you do in the morning to kind of get prepared for the day? Do you have any morning routines?
um, Not really, because every single morning brings something different. Uh, Typically, uh, landscapers are normally the first ones to pull in the morning because they've got jobs to do for the rest of the
Mhm.
day. Uh, Thankfully, a lot of them will call me ahead of time and make sure that I know that they're coming to pick up certain plant materials. So basically, if I have the time a couple days before, I'll just make sure that the guys have it pulled and ready for them.
Yeah.
But really, it's just getting up and grabbing the phone and just going. There really is no preparation for this kind of job.
Yeah. What about fun? What about when you're not on the job? What do you do for fun?
I'm a big video game nerd.
Is that
Uh,
right?
I play PC games at home. Yeah, PC games. My husband, he's a gaming nerd too. He plays Xbox, so we bond by staring at different screens right next to each other.
That's great. What at Shademaster Nursery do you have any services offered that that people might not know that might surprise people?
Well, I mean, like I said, we've got a large section behind our property that we grow trees on.
Mhm.
All deciduous trees, so the ones that lose their leaves in the fall. So when it comes to digging time, which is typically real early spring or right around October-ish, people can come out and tag the trees out in the field if they want something that's just freshly dug and it can
Mhm.
be planted, immediately or soon after, something that they could possibly handle themselves, or that we can plant for them if it's a pretty larger tree that they don't want to put forth that kind of backbreaking effort.
Yeah. Do you have one piece of advice that you've heard along the way that you like to tell people? Do you have a favorite piece of advice or life hack?
Oh, just keep going, even though it looks dim or overwhelming.
Mhm.
This too shall pass.
Yeah, that's great, especially these times. Are you guys doing anything in particular, anything different with the COVID-19 lockdown?
Well, I stick to just plant material here, so I don't sell any annuals. I don't do tropicals. I don't have any garden decorations or anything like that. So all of my stuff is outside.
Mm,
So thankfully, the only reason anyone would have to ever have to come inside would be just to pay.
mhm,
And because we're still kind of unknown to a lot of chunk of people retail wise, I hear all the time that nobody knew we were out here. Um, I don't have mass amounts of crowds out
mhm,
here, so people can wander freely without being too close to anybody. I've got hand sanitizer everywhere.
mhm.
And of course, a bathroom if they just want to wash their hands instead of using hand sanitizer. I can take payments over the phone. I can, people don't even have to come in. I've had a couple customers just hand me their card. I run inside and do everything and bring everything back out for them. So
Right.
I'm pretty accommodating when it comes to all of this. It's just
Yeah.
however everyone wants to handle it.
Gotcha. And how do we get more people out there? What sort of, I mean, it's kind of the time of year people are getting out in their lawns and are looking for different plants. What do you want to tell people to get everybody out there at Shademaster?
Well, like I said, I'm on 16 acres of property of large trees, container stock perennials. I sell landscape ready material. I don't smell small stuff like the big box stores. So if you want something with some size and some actual quality that'll survive our winters, you'll want to come to me.
That's great. That's great. ShademasterNursery.com is a good website. They're up there on 90th Street in Davenport. You said just past Farm and Fleet, is that right?
Yeah, just a quarter mile up the road. You can't miss us. It's a tan building, lots of trees. We're surrounded by corn and sod.
That sounds great. Did we hit everything? Is there anything else that you want people to know?
Stay safe. It's still a good time to plant. It doesn't, if the plant's already above ground, you can plant it anytime. It just depends on when you want to get it into the ground and how often you want to water it.
Hmm. Okay, that's great. And the final question on this behind the business segment, I like to ask for referrals. Is there anybody that you would like to see in the hot seat where you're at right now on this program that maybe has an interesting backstory, a cool business, or maybe just needs a little extra love this time of year?
Uh, my father-in-law actually owns a company on Hickory Grove. Had that business in the Quad Cities for the last 45 years. They've supplied homeowners and contractors in the area with roofing supplies. Um, they've been around forever. Very good people. Um, they need their love. They're slowly getting beat out by the big box stores, unfortunately, but they still have a good client base in there. But they do kits to help people do their own roofing if they feel the need to, or they'll also refer them to good contractors in the area that'll help them get the job done, especially after that last hailstorm.
And what's the name of the business?
Roofing wholesale and supply company.
All right. All right. Well, I appreciate your time, Alexandria. I appreciate you coming on the program today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad it worked out that I wasn't so swamped that I would have had to reschedule.
Yes, it worked out well. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Have a good one.